And it is right here.
And I thought the Angus burger was the most expensive one. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not that one. I don't know. You're going to bring that up when I'm talking about it anyways, right?
Yes, live on YouTube.
Check live on YouTube.
I'm just going to leave it up.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about the plant first. So I'll need a picture of that plant before this. Gonna have fun today. Gonna have fun today. Driving my truck, I don't have my car to jam out in.
Oh yeah.
The truck doesn't have the sound system. The car did.
My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what Welcome, and happy Thursday. Oh my gosh. I am so glad to be here in the studio. And there's a really special reason I'm glad to be here. This is going to be my last day in the studio for a couple of days. Look. We're all going through this. The COVID thing is out there. Whether you believe it's bad or much ado about nothing. The government and people in charge have asked us to do some isolation. I am one of those people involved in what's been asked for an isolation order. I have some now. Here in Lake County, there is no specific order. They have not given the police power to alleviate fines. Pass out citations in the spirit of submitting to authority, which I don't want to do. I am going to isolate for a few days because I do have an underlying condition. Lake County, and even here in South Lake County, we have 3 cases of COVID-19. I believe it was 2 in Mascot, 1 in Groveland. So what are we going to do? We're going to follow the directions. And thankfully today we're going to be trying out some new technology, some new software, so that I can still come to you with Jono South Lake live every day, Monday through Friday. We're going to try this out for as long as we can. We are trying to stay on the air. We will be on the air, but we may not be live at some point down the road. So just to say, if things seem a little weird today, it's because we're on a new thing. All right. So I gotta think. How are we going to deal with this? Because my wife and I downsized a couple of months ago, 18 months ago. We live in 800 square feet. Look. One of the orders is stay home. When the order is stay home, it doesn't mean you can't leave your house. It means don't go to the restaurant. Try not to go to the grocery store. Ask people to help you out. Something. 3 things you can do to get out of the house right in your own yard. You can grow a plant. Jay, bring this up. This is a cucumber plant. Now, what I did for that is I cut off the bottom of an old trash can, filled it with potting soil and garden soil, put some cucumber seeds in it, and it's growing. The beauty of this is this will take you 4 or 5 minutes every single day to deal with. All right? You can also exercise or get into some of those at-home projects. Get out of your house to keep from going crazy. All right. We'll talk more about this kind of stuff down the road. Deal of the day. Bring up the deal of the day, Jay. Deal of the day comes from Burger M, our friends. We love them down there. Today is Spanish Beef Thursday, 1/3 pound patty, habanero aioli, grilled jalapeno, leaf lettuce, pepper jack cheese, all on a burger made with chorizo as well as beef. I want to encourage you to get on down there. This is a combo deal. $8.99, comes with the fries and a drink. You gotta be there. Support your local restaurants for takeout. All right, we are gonna go to commercial. When we get back, we're gonna be joined by my dear friend Kristina Grasso. She's gonna tell us about. She's with Cornerstone Hospice. We're gonna talk about what hospice is and some of the myths and facts of what it's supposed to do. So don't go away. We'll be right back. South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
Is better when you're smiling. At Modern Orthodontics, Dr. Alan Wong has changed thousands of lives, helping patients achieve the modern smile with braces and clear aligners. Utilizing digital scanning technology, Modern Orthodontics creates in-office 3D models for clearly modern aligners. Modern Orthodontics is conveniently located in Claremont, Apopka, and Bushnell. Call or text us to schedule your free exam and create your modern smile today.
Fifty West, pre-leasing Mount Claremont, a first-of-its-kind commercial development in the Southeast. Contact us today to reserve your spot in this historic development. 50 West, unique, quality, Class A. For more information on leasing, contact Ashley Punn at 407-403-4165. Karen Arlano at 407-948-0767. Or visit lease@50.com.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors. Dear friend Kristina Grasso. Now, part of the experiment I told you about is we are using a new technology and a new software so that we can bring our guests in by remote. So welcome, Kristina.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Jay, can you put me up there on the main screen so I can? Thanks, dude. Appreciate you. All right. I like this. I think this works. All right. This is Kristina Grasso, and I need my glasses. Kristina is the community liaison for Cornerstone Hospice. She is a co-leader for the Alzheimer Family Organization Support Group. She is the committee chair for the health industry networking team. Can't even understand my own notes. She had a major in human communications from UCF for a bachelor's degree and a minor in mass communications. She also took some classes, interestingly enough, with no intention of ever going into the health field. She took a class in health communication campaigns. Kristina, welcome. For a young lady, you have quite an extensive resume.
Thank you. Yes.
Wanted to ask, how did you become involved in hospice? I mean, again, for a young woman your age and with your background, communication, guys like you usually go into TV or radio or advertising. How did you become involved with hospice?
Yeah, and it's actually funny because, of course, at the beginning of the day, I wanted to do radio, I wanted to do broadcast journalism, and it didn't really pan out for me. It wasn't what I wanted to do once I actually had the internship and experienced it. And believe it or not, someone actually recommended Cornerstone to me. And at the time, to be completely honest, I didn't know what a hospice was. I said, death, that sounds sad, that sounds depressing, that's not what I want to do. So I was very hesitant. It took me going through many different trials to finally be like, let me look it up, let me see what it's about, and really give it a shot. So that's honestly what I did, and I don't regret it because I've learned so much just being immersed in a necessary ministry in itself and a necessary program that a lot of people don't take advantage of.
It's really true. There are some misconceptions about hospice. What is hospice? Because a lot of us just we only have one conception of it. Tell us what hospice is.
Yeah, so the first number one thing I will say is hospice is not a place, it's a philosophy of care, and it's a type of care. So typically what people say, it's for those ends of life, and the most common thing I hear is, oh, it's for those last days, last hours, last moments. And while Cornerstone and hospice can do great work during that time, it could actually be a lot longer. So for a normal prognosis, we say 6 months or less, but with the Florida Medicare benefit, the hospice benefit, it could be 12 months or less. So it's people that have those necessary criteria, as we call it, where they have frequent visits to the ER, they're losing weight, they have like problems with their activities of daily living, so walking, eating, things like that. It's just an upper level of care for those people with a team of individuals. So I can explain a little bit more about the team if you want.
Yeah, please explain that because first give us an idea because typically the things you're talking about, I think people tend to think of the senior community only, but that's not necessarily true, correct?
Yeah, no. So unfortunately, we do treat pediatrics as well. And we even have a partnership with Orlando Health. So we have an inpatient unit there. And even people who are in car accidents. I mean, things can happen every day that can put you in that life situation where you need that upper level of care and you need that team of individuals responding to your different needs.
Now, a lot of people think that hospice is only about those last days.
What is the purpose of hospice? I know you just said an upper level of care. People, is coming to hospice really the sign that it's over and you've given in?
Not necessarily. I mean, you hear in most cases, yes, but what hospice provides through the Medicare hospice benefit and just in general are your medications are paid for, any oxygen is paid for, your durable medical equipment, and you get the team. So the team that I was talking to you about is a team of doctors, of nurses, of a social worker, of a chaplain, if you choose, your volunteers. And it's a team wanting to meet holistic needs, whether that's spiritual, whether that's physical, social, economical, that we want to address all those needs because, yes, there's the physical of what's going on, but there's a lot of other things that need to be addressed. So hospice is a team of individuals to do that.
So why don't you talk to us about that team? Are you all paid staff? Are you volunteers? Are you some mixture of the both?
Yeah, so here at Cornerstone, we have a mix of different things. So overall, we do have over 700 employees, but with volunteers, we have 820. So we actually have more volunteers than paid staff. So a part of that IDT team, so it's our interdisciplinary team, that would be, so every service area and every community, so we'll take Claremont, for example, we have the gold team. And so if you are a patient in the Claremont area, you would have the nurse, you would have social worker, a chaplain, all the different things that I had mentioned. And it would be a lot of the time those same people coming in and out for that continuity of care. So they learn what your normal looks like. They really get to learn who your family members are. They assist when there's needs of just certain things that are needing, or they can kind of see, okay, something's wrong with mom right now or the sister, and they're able to meet those needs with the same people coming in over and over again, addressing what is most important to you right now. We explain it kind of like a solar system. So if you think of, the sun in the middle orbiting everything, that's the patient and the family.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you talked about the family. Obviously the care is for the individual that's in hospice, right? I mean, do you always have to come to, I know locally you have a home up by, there's a hospice care house. I don't know what you call them.
Hospice house.
Is it a unit? Is it a home? What is the official name for that location you have over by the college up in the hospital area there?
Yeah, right by South Lake Hospital. So that is our Cornerstone's Mike Conley Hospice House. And so that is a hospice house for more 24/7 around the clock symptom management. So a common misconception about the hospice houses are that they're long-term. They are actually short-term just for the amount of time to manage those symptoms. So we do have nurses staff there 24/7. That house does have its own chaplain. It has its own volunteer coordinator services. Our volunteers go in and help out there as well. So again, that is a place for a short period of time, generally just for that symptom management.
So that is not the bulk of what you do, though, right? That you only have a limited amount of space there.
No, 90%
it's not a
of
small
our
facility.
patients are at home, and that's wherever they consider home, whether that's an assisted living facility, a long-term skilled rehab, anything. We meet people wherever they are.
Okay, so the staff that you talked about, the nurse, the doctor, the chaplain that everybody has, that usually comes to the home?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with the family members? Because many times the person that I'm sure that you're caring for has accepted their situation, or maybe they're trying to accept their situation, but you have a lot of family coming up. I ask this because I had a dear friend some years ago, 8-10 years ago, who passed away, and in his home, he was rather young, relatively in his early 50s, and hospice was part of his process, for the last few months, and there was a parade of people through there. I always wondered how the nurses and the chaplain really dealt with the parade of people.
Yeah, from what I've heard from a lot of them, you have to be ready for anything. I think a lot of our people who are in the staff are angels, because you do get those family members that don't want to acknowledge it, may completely ignore it, or the people who come in from out of town that kind of want to just act like it's not going on. And one thing that we stress to say, there's always hope with hospice. It's not just giving up. It's not a lot of the things that people say about it. Like, we're here to address their needs for their quality of life, not quantity of life. And that's the number one thing that we stress.
So, let's get back to the volunteers. You basically, we've talked about several positions, but they all seem to be, highly trained, highly skilled staff. Where do volunteers fit in?
Yeah, so volunteers are actually one of my passions as well with this too, because we have so many different unique programs and services. So for the hospice house example, we always have a volunteer at that door greeting people, but then we also have a kitchen as part of that hospice house, and we have volunteers every single day making cookies, doing meal requests for any of the patients that are there. We also have the volunteers that will sit bedside with the patients, our visual volunteers, when they are kind of closer to those last few hours. What I normally tell people volunteer-wise is if you have a passion, we typically have a place for it. Whether it's our pet program, our veteran program, we meet the needs of our people.
I'm glad you brought up those programs. Tell us a little bit, because I know tell us a little bit about Cornerstone, all right? Because I know it hasn't always been Cornerstone. So this started as actually a straight ministry, right?
So yeah, it was called Hospice of Lake and Sumter over in Tavares by some hospitals when it was Waterman at the time, some nurses that worked there. They didn't like the way that hospice care was being dealt with. They didn't like it. They wanted to kind of go over and above what they felt like the care should have been. And so that's kind of how Cornerstone was birthed.
In all fairness, too, I want to point out that was some years ago. I mean, we're not talking 5 years ago. There was a
35
time
years
where,
ago.
yeah, the medical industry and I think our culture had to come to grips with the concept of something that focused on the quality of the end of life, the quality of life as you slip to the next stage. So tell us about hospice. Is hospice a for-profit or Cornerstone? Is it a for-profit? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a ministry? Is it a business? Give us an idea of what Cornerstone itself is.
Yeah, so Cornerstone is 100% a non-for-profit. We are the only one in the area, so we are very proud about that. And going back to that, that means we are community-based. We were born here. We have our roots here. We're not leaving this area. And we just have a passion for this area. And like even with the Mike Conley House, we have such deep roots in the Claremont community that Mike Conley, who was on the board, very well known, did a lot for South Lake Hospital. He donated the land. The land was donated by South Lake Hospital. So we have huge roots in the community of being the community hospice.
So we're roots in the community. So you're a nonprofit, but you're not a ministry. There's a spiritual realm. Like you said, you have chaplains. Are they out of one faith? Do you tap from different faiths for that? Explain how that part works.
Yeah, so I'm personally a Christian, but I know all of our chaplains, they will meet people where they are. So whether they're a Christian or not, whatever they believe in, we will meet people where they are. Because a lot of the time, as you know, there's a lot of spiritual things going on. It's not just that physical. And sometimes just having someone to talk to guide you through the fears, to guide you through the uncertainty is all you need. So our chaplains will 100% meet each of our patients wherever they are, faith and spirituality wise.
Now, I'm sure you probably make place because you probably get a lot of people who have their own pastors. You make place for that, not just as regular visitors, right? I mean, they probably get some other provision for them to visit and spend a little more time, or?
Yeah, no. So what happens, we work a lot with Blessed Sacrament and all the churches around here. A lot of the different pastors will come into the hospice house to visit the people who are in their congregation. So they are definitely still a part of it as long as the patient wishes. And that's the big thing, making sure wishes are known. That's a huge, huge thing I even stress in the community.
Okay, now, I know you're very passionate about the subject. You shared with me a flyer, the myths and the truths. I'd like to go through that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jay's giving me the sign. I made him bring that picture up earlier, so he's having a hard time finding it. Give him half a second. This is me, folks. Don't blame the tech guy. This was Joe messing up the process because I wanted you to see my beautiful cucumber plant. Kristina, why don't you start talking about it while he finds that, okay? I'm sure you have the first one. There it is. So guide us through a little bit with this, starting with the first one.
Okay, so I'm going to pull it up on mine too, just so I'm reading verbatim. So the first one that we typically go through is hospice is where you go to when there's nothing a doctor can do. And again, that goes into the part that there is always hope with hospice. And we even want to work with the doctors too. So when a patient comes on services, yes, there is our hospice physician, but we give every single doctor the option to still be a part of their patient's care. And so one way we like to put it as well is when you're typically going to a doctor or you have a home health agency, you are aggressively trying to do curative measures. With hospice, we are aggressively trying to do comfort measures. So it's more of just changing that viewpoint of what you are looking to do.
You know, because I know so many people who have, and we don't want to give people a false impression because the design is to help you have a quality of life at the end of your life. But I have known a lot of people who went into hospice, came out of hospice, went into hospice. I know of one woman in her 90s who went to hospice in the last 6 or 7 years of her life, probably 8, 9 times. and
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing of it too, because we will have patients on for years at a time, but it's not a like consecutive amount of time. They kind of get on and get off as needed, because again, with hospice, your medications are covered, your oxygen is covered, you have all of the equipment you need. So sometimes the body just needs those things to regulate itself, and then you'll be okay for a little bit.
Lead us through some more of these myths.
Yes, we can do that. So the second one, same thing we said, choosing hospice means giving up all medical treatment. Again, that is not necessarily the case. It's always based on what a person needs with their individual needs. So for example, if someone has two different things going on, let's say they are on for, I'm trying to think, end-stage Alzheimer's, but they also have a heart disease of some sort or a cancer. So they can get palliative radiation if they need, so that they can breathe better. So different things going on can be alleviated, as long as it's not what they are typically on services for.
This is really cool. Let me ask you something. You mentioned a couple of times some other programs that you have. Okay. The PET program. You talked about a veterans program. Can you talk about those two? I thought they were the most fascinating ones you talked about. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Our PET program is actually one of my favorites. So Cornerstone was the first one to develop this in Florida, and it is called Pet Peace of Mind. And for a lot of our people, for our patients, their pets are their family members. Their dog means a lot to them. They're not going to leave their house because their dog is there. So we wanted to find a way to take care of that, to address that need. So we have Pet Peace of Mind volunteers that will come and feed the dog. They will groom the dog. They will walk it and take care of all those needs, so that our patient can relax and not feel the burden of not being able to do those things. And we'll even go as far as towards the end of the person's life, trying to find a place for that home, for that dog, animal, anything that it can be. We try to get it adopted before the person passes away, so they know it's not just going somewhere.
Now, that's only available on the in-home care, correct? You don't allow people to bring pets into the...
Oh, no, we do. Our hospice houses, generally speaking, they have no visitation hours, and pets are allowed.
Wow, that's really great. And what about the veterans? You talked about a veterans program.
Yeah. So that's a huge staple in our community. So Cornerstone, we have a We Honor Veterans program. And so we are 4-star accredited with the national organization We Honor Veterans, which means that we go as far as teaching every single person on our staff to our volunteers that veterans die differently. There's PTSD. There's a number of different things that our veterans go through towards the end of life that need to be addressed based on the experiences that they had while in active service. So not only do we teach everyone going in the room like how to act, we also honor them. So they get a pin, they get a certificate, and it's amazing. I've even seen it in some of the hospice houses when people are getting honored. They could almost be unconscious, but they know when someone is saluting them, and they will try their hardest to salute back. It's honestly beautiful.
You were going to make me cry.
I know, I'm trying not to.
Hang on while I get my composure. I know that you are a terribly passionate advocate for Cornerstone, for hospice. You got a lot of other events that you're doing with Cornerstone and through Cornerstone. Tell us about some of that stuff.
So you had mentioned the first one. I do a lot with AFO, the Alzheimer's Family Organization. So they are a group for caregivers, not necessarily the patient themselves. So I lead one of the support groups for that. They're also going to be having a caregiver learning day. Right now, it's actually scheduled for